We all know hockey can be a tough sport, and injuries can happen. But what happens when you hurt your face but need to continue playing? In this video, we're going to take a look back at some of the more interesting ways that players have protected their faces. In today's game, players have a lot of options when they get a face injury. They can choose to wear a full face cage, a full bubble fishbowl style mask, or choose to wear one of the chin guards in production today that's designed to protect just the jaw. When Zdeno Chara hurt his jaw blocking a shot in Game 4 of the 2019 Stanley Cup Finals, he came back to the bench after some stitches with a full-length bubble cage. But when he came back to the ice in Game 5, he had the visor area completely cut out so he could view the ice without any chance of a glare. In some cases, players have actually worn a full wire cage. Wearing a full-length mask of any type is not something that's typically allowed in the NHL, but allowances are made for players recovering from an injury if they so choose. Like when James Wisniewski of the Montreal Canadiens blocked a shot with his face in February of 2011. However, once you're deemed healthy by the NHL, the best you can do is just wear the largest visor you can find. But most players can't wait to get the mask off, like Maple Leafs forward David Clarkson. He tried everything when he was recovering from his broken orbital bone in the preseason prior to the 2014-15 season. He started out with a cage, then moved to the bubble mask, then moved to a visor before finally coming back to wearing just the helmet. Most players don't like wearing a full cage since it can interfere with their vision, but as more and more players enter the league that grew up with a full cage, there are more players that are used to how the game looks with a full cage. At the college level, full facial protection is required and has been since 1982, and quite a number of players choose to wear a full wire cage there. But opinions on whether the bubble or the cage is better is heavily debated. So what did players do in the past? In the early 90s, the special jaw protectors that we have today were not commercially available yet. There were full cages at this time, but players of this era grew up playing youth hockey in the 60s and 70s and didn't wear cages growing up in youth hockey. Facial protection was not required at all at the juniors level either. I should point out though, while many youths of the 70s and earliers didn't grow up wearing full cages, that isn't to say they didn't wear any protection for their faces at all. Some youth leagues had players wear special mouth guards that would go around just the mouth and connect to the helmet's chin straps to protect the player's teeth. Here's what this guard looks like up close. But the point is, the idea of wearing a metal wire cage that would partially block your vision was an instant no-go for top NHL players of the early 90s and earlier. There were still players playing without helmets at this time. In November of 1991, Sabres forward Pat LaFontaine was delivered a blow that broke his jaw. After a few weeks of sitting out, he came back several weeks later. At first without any special protection, but after some moments of pain, decided that he needed some additional protection. In order to continue playing, he had a special jaw protector designed by Dr. John Butch, made from aluminum by Buffalo Forge, added to his helmet so he could continue to play. This special protector was attached to his helmet and allowed him to have similar vision out of his visor that he was used to, with less obstruction in front of his eyes, and provided protection to his jaw. He wore two versions of this jaw protector, one to color match each of his helmets, depending if he was playing at home or away. Later that season, Rick Tocchet of the Pittsburgh Penguins had his jaw broken, and he wore a similar type jaw protector in the playoffs. But Tocchet didn't do as good of a job of letting his injury heal. Seems pointless to wear the jaw protector if you're going to get into a fight. Prior to this custom-designed jaw protector, if players wanted to play with a jaw injury, they had to get creative if they wanted to have their jaws protected without blocking their vision. In a December 11th game against the Minnesota North Stars, Red Wings forward Gerard Gallant suffered a broken jaw during a fight with Dirk Graham. Gallant's jaw had to be wired shut for 6 weeks, but in February of 1986, Gerard Gallant returned from his broken jaw with a football mask installed on his hockey helmet to protect the jaw while allowing him to see better than if he had a full cage. But after only 6.5 games, Gallant removed the cage from his helmet because he felt it interfered with his vision too much. But Gallant was not the first to turn to football equipment for an injured jaw. When Bobby Hall was hit in the face with an elbow from the Toronto Maple Leafs' Mike Pollock, he came back 6 weeks later donning a football helmet, similar to the one worn by Larry Zonka, though Bobby had some crudely added modifications done to his helmet by cutting out ear holes and adding air holes near the top. After his jaw healed up enough, Bobby went back to not wearing a helmet at all. But football isn't the only sport NHL players have borrowed from to protect their faces from injury. In 1975, Capitals forward Jack Lynch donned a lacrosse helmet to protect his broken cheekbone for a game against the Blackhawks. The lacrosse face mask may prevent against elbows from hitting his cheekbone, but could likely let a puck right on through on a shot block. Players with facial injuries now have a variety of options to protect their faces and continue playing. But as you've seen, players have had to come up with creative solutions in the past. Did any of this surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.